Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Populist Podcast. Today, we're joined by a very special guest, Mr. Steven Orozco of Texas's 18th Congressional District.
Hello,
Thank you for
everybody.
coming on today.
Thank you. Thank you for the invite. I appreciate the opportunity.
And I'm Charles. That's Chase. You know that by now. I'll just get us started off with a question we always ask. You want to just tell us about yourself, why you're running, what your district's like, all that jazz?
Yes. My name is Steven Orozco. I am 33 years old. I'm an educator. I teach currently high school elective for psychology, and I teach eighth grade health. I'm a community organizer and political activist, and I focused and centered around social justice when it comes to social justice for criminal justice reform, immigration reform, which is very personal to me. My parents are undocumented. I grew up in a mixed status family, so at a very young age, I've been very aware of the world around me and the rules and the whys and if it's right or wrong. Just developing that since like early as age 6. And so I've always been very interested in what's going on with the news and politics. So growing up, I am one of those kind of mid millennials, I guess. Where I'm not quite of the older side of the millennials, but I'm like right there in the middle. And we grew up during the 9/11 era, so become very aware of the politics of war and international diplomacy through everything that we saw with the Bush administration and through the Obama administration, and now currently with this administration that we have. And so, as part of my motivation to run, it's just been to like see more activists and people who are working class in Congress. And so here in Houston specifically, we have a very golden opportunity to continue to lead the country in the aspect of the political revolution, because Houston now is over 60% black and brown. It's over 42% Latinx and about over 18% African American. So the demographic shift that's been happening in Houston is actually it's been researched by Rice University, the Kinder Institute, as something that is we are the most diverse city in the country, and that's because of like the percentage wise is a lot more the dynamics of that percentage is more even throughout, claiming that title. And for the past decade, we've been seeing that shift in politics here locally. So part of the work that I did as an activist was to organized about 4 years ago against the Republican district attorney, Republican sheriff social justice initiative campaign that ended up pushing the county itself to break records in voting when the rest of the country actually had a 20-year low because they weren't motivated to vote for Hillary Clinton. But that is actually the seeds that became the Texas blue wave that we will see last year with the Betomania and everything. So what we saw as activists here is that if we really organize at the local level and focus on the social justice initiatives, we can be very successful. So the district itself reflects the same dynamic of Houston and the majority of black and brown folks here. And we are very hopeful that now we can take the working class message and really create something that gives people hope.
All right. Well, we're going to talk a little bit more about your district. So one thing that's been very clear by looking at the map is that it's gerrymandered to the point where it almost completely surrounds the neighboring district. So I just want to know, like, if elected, is that something that you would, you would campaign on?
Well, I definitely believe that we should have fair redistricting, make sure, because both sides have used it to their advantage. We know this is not a solely a Republican tactic. It's whoever is able to get the power and control of the districts in their state, they'll try to enforce it. So that's why right now there's a major push at the local level for next year for the elections at the state level, because whoever has the majority, and right now Republicans have the majority in the state house and the state senate. So whoever has the majority after next year's elections at the state level, they're going to be the new batch that is going to draw the new district lines, because they do, I believe, every 10 years or so. So that time is now. So whoever ends up winning next year will be able to decide how these districts get redistricted in Texas. So I believe the number is 9 seats. If Democrats in Texas are able to win 9 seats next year in the state house, they'll be able to just push back and hold Republicans from actually redistricting these areas around the state, to their favor. So I believe that we should definitely have a country nationwide effort to make it fair. But it's going to take a lot of work just because both sides have been abusing that tactic.
All right. So one thing that Chase and I personally talk about a lot is Democrats and what they're willing to do once they get to Congress. So what's more important to you, reaching across the aisle and getting things done, or fighting unabashedly for your ideas and putting a flag in the ground, drawing a sand in the line, and just going tooth and nail?
I like to confront. I am a fighter. I do believe in standing your ground on your principles and your morals, especially when it's not, in this case, not like standing on my principles and morals. It's really what the majority of the country wants, right? Reaching across the aisle with this brand of Republicans has proven to be pointless because we see how they house white supremacists within their party, and they don't, try to expose them and kick them out. We've had many Republicans already stop being Republicans and call that out. We've had a record number of Republicans decide not to go for re-election last election cycle, and then this election cycle, we have more of them no longer seeking them. And there's a reason for that, right? Because they know that their party has become like a cancer to the political process when it comes to social identity and just the white supremacy that's in it. And then like the actual establishment Democrats that have been there for decades, they're enablers and they're not really pushing the fight like they should. So I do believe that once in office, I will be somebody that stirs the pot up for justice and for the right reasons, not just for empty grandstanding and photo ops, but for fighting for a Green New Deal because it's needed, because we have about 10 years or less before the climate is past the point that we can actually manage to survive in it. Pushing for Medicare for all because people now no longer care about Obamacare as much as they did 10 years ago, because now Medicare for all is the most popular bill that is being discussed on the national platform. So we got to fight for that, and then definitely fight for social justice initiatives. I look forward to the opportunity to be in Congress so I can actually chase white supremacists out of Congress, because that will be something that I look forward to doing.
All right. Well, a common thread with primary challengers is like total condemnation from the establishment Democrats. So is that like blind party unity? Is that something that you believe in?
I've lost confidence in the party leadership since 2016, just due to the fact that we've seen what happened with the delegate system when Bernie actually won by large count the votes for the primary in several states, but at the actual DNC in Philadelphia, which I was in, but I was in the streets protesting against a lot of these things that were going on inside. How we saw the representatives, the delegates that were there, get silenced by the super delegates. So you have thousands of votes towards Bernie get silenced by, a group of small special interest super delegates. So the party itself has fractured the trust. And what we're trying to do is push against the establishment and allow the votes do the talking and get the final word, like we saw with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, with Rashida Tlaib, and with Ilhan Omar, with Ayanna Pressley-Jones, where their districts spoke loud and said, these are the Democrats that we want, and these are the Democrats that we're going to continue to put back into our district. So we hope that our campaign gets added to that chorus, along with other ones all around the country that are pushing progressive policies against the establishment, so that way we could push the party to a more progressive future, and then the leadership will have to follow the will of the people. So, I'm ready for that. I know that the establishment has been sour in the way that they talk about, how they call it the squad and these progressive ideals. But I believe that after just one election cycle that they got introduced, the next election cycle that would get reinforced, and then every single one after that, they'll have no choice but to bow down to the will of the people.
All right. So there's certainly a lot of talk within the Democratic Party about raising the minimum wage. Senator Bernie Sanders supports a $15 an hour minimum wage. Do you support raising the minimum wage? And if you do, to what extent do you support raising it to?
Mhm. I definitely support raising the minimum wage. I have seen numbers and studies saying that in order to maintain, parity with what inflation has been and cost of living, it should be closer to $25 an hour. I know Rashida Tlaib had Representative Tlaib had mentioned um, $20 an hour, but they were talking about federal workers. But across the board for all workers in the country, I believe that we should be as close to $20 as possible. And allow the economics and the mathematics and those who know how to create this structure the best to lead the way how we could do this, so that way folks can actually make sure that businesses stay open and doesn't hurt them, and that people are able to have a livable wage that allows them to support, not just themselves but a family, because a lot of folks, working class folks, they have kids, or sometimes they just have relatives that they have to take care of. And $15 an hour is great, but like the closer you get to 20 will be better.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to move a little bit more towards foreign policy, with even many progressive candidates supporting drone strikes as opposed to like full-fledged war.
Mhm.
Do you believe that the pros of drone striking outweigh the numerous civilian casualties that occur as a byproduct?
No, I don't agree with drone strikes at all. Anything that allows, um, I guess the proper term will be the shooter, right, to not be present, to do it from a distance, to do it from a remote location where they really cannot determine accurately who they're shooting at, and that there won't be any collateral casualties, right? Innocent lives taken. I don't think it's worth it at all. We've seen this throughout the Obama administration, and we've seen how so many different tragedies have occurred where you have families and innocent civilians. In some cases, due to the WikiLeaks, we found out journalists, international folks that were that were supposed to be safe out there and not fired upon, getting fired upon. Um, and those weren't just the drones; those were, I don't know what kind of gun it was that, and they recorded, they filmed their targeting, and those kinds of um, instruments of war that basically, I believe, removes them too much that they are not able to make the right judgment call. And war is an unfortunate reality, but I don't think it's a necessary reality. And I think that we have abused the process of war. War in the traditional sense had been something that was a sacrifice when you look at World War II and World War One. But after World War II, it seems like we've just been chasing the narrative of, you know, stomping down communists around the world, and it's put us in countries that we shouldn't have been, and it's put our veterans at risk and coming back home with all sorts of ills, physical chronic ills, or they come back maimed, or they come back traumatized. And unfortunately, I feel that we are not taking care of them after the fact either. So I feel that we have to revisit the way that we are um, choosing how do we go to war and when we go to war, because every generation has experienced war. We have not had a time of non-warfare in our country, and that's unfortunate.
All right, so Chase and I just have one question each left for you. And so this is a pretty hot button topic with everything that's been going on the last month. What is your stance on gun control?
Mm. I believe guns should definitely be regulated in a more responsible and thorough way. The fact that we don't have a strong background check, universal background check system is deplorable. The fact that we have allowed weapons of war to become mass, consumer products. They make so many AR-15s. They make just as much as AR-15s as they create Jordans for people to just stock up on, and all the different types of like the extended clips and then you have things that you can buy that are like almost mini guns. It just gets so exaggerated and out of control that we really have to bring it back down, because now we see what is what these instruments of war are going to be used for. Now we have the shooting at El Paso targeting Latino people. white supremacists, terrorists are now, gearing up to continue to do more attacks, and they have all the weapons available to them. Gun shows and being able to just sell guns without a background check. We definitely need to strengthen our gun laws. I think that folks that want to own a gun should have an extensive process as equal as like when you get a driver's license. I believe you should have to get it renewed every 3 years and have to make sure that you're competent to make sure you keep your gun. I believe that you should have a gun safe that you have to have and that must be stored. I believe that we should look at ways to ensure responsibility of where your gun's placed and how it's being housed and locked up, and then making sure that's not getting in the wrong hands. And I believe that it's been just something that obviously the NRA and the gun lobby has been able to ensure that politicians don't address it. But, we need to continue to clean out Congress to get the folks who are going to put those more strict gun laws that are going to help people stay safer. And then it's going to make sure that those who own guns are the most responsible and folks who just understand the importance of treating the gun as not just a right that they're able to just enjoy, but is a right that they need to respect.
All right. Well, I'm going to round it out with one last question that we like to ask everybody. With the crowded field for 2020, the Democratic presidential candidates, is there one candidate that stands out to you, or maybe two candidates?
Yeah, and actually we are very fortunate here in Texas. District 18 here in Houston includes 3rd Ward, which is a historically black neighborhood that has my alma mater, Texas Southern University, a HBCU, a historically black college and university, and that's where they're going to host the 3rd debate next month. So I'm hoping to have a chance to get a closer look at these candidates. I've been able to kind of like get close to. I've spoken to Julian Castro and I've been able to meet with Elizabeth Warren when she was at University of Houston about 2 months ago, and just briefly see Bernie Sanders. And carrying over from 2016, the only two Congress people that I knew I would support in the presidential race has been Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. And Elizabeth Warren didn't run in 2016, so I was completely behind Bernie. I wrote his name in during the general election because Hillary was not going to win Texas, so the whole electoral college system and everything was not going to allow her to win it. So for me, it was a purely symbolic write-in vote because I was still protesting against DNC and what they did, and that carries still into today. I had been disappointed with Bernie getting behind Hillary and pushing Hillary. I understood why he did it after he had been, given the loss. Also, Elizabeth Warren and her advocacy for Hillary, I was, I had a very, just a cold era of like not really happy with any of the politicians out there. But I know that we have to get back in this fight. And when it comes to the presidential election, there's only a group of folks that are going to be there that we're going to have to get behind. So right now, if I were to have a top three, it would be Bernie, Elizabeth, and Julian Castro. And I just hope to see that they continue to elevate and ascend as this process of elimination now continues through this 3rd debate, and see that we can push them to do the right thing as soon as they get into office.
All right. Well, it's been a pleasure having you on today. I'm glad we got to hear you talk, and I'm sure our audience loved to hear your whole platform and everything. Is there one last thing you'd like to round this out with?
Yes, of course. So for everybody who's tuning in and watching and interested in our campaign, you can go to our website. I'm wearing my shirt still today because we were block walking. We block walk on Sundays. So our website is Orozco2020.com. And it has all the links for our social media, so you can follow. You can subscribe to the newsletter on our website on the bottom of the page. We have our 5 for 5 Community Strong Initiative, which is a goal that we set to be able to reach 5,000 supporters to sign up to donate $5 a month. And if we reach that goal, then we're going to be able to have a competitive campaign, because the other candidates in this campaign, including the incumbent, are, they're full of corporate and special interest money. So we definitely have to fight the Goliath of big money in our race. But we're hoping that when we get 5,000 supporters to sign up for those $5 a month, we'll be able to sling that rock right between the eyes. And by the time March comes around, that we win that primary, and that we just go into November securing that congressional seat.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on today. We will definitely put your links in the description so everybody can go check out your website, donate if they want to. Hope everybody has a great day.